Okay. I call this meeting to order at 3:03 p.m. on April 11th, 2023. Roll is taken by means of sign-in sheet that's at the front. If you're an alternate, please make sure you sign under the name of the person you're representing. Today's alternates are Tevin Shu for Matthew Hyatt, Judith Sylvester for Robert Mann, Meredith Veldman for John Bardis, Herman Kelly for Catherine Jacquet, and Michael Keenan for Subramanian Sathaville. Sorry. Are there any other alternates whom I haven't called? Yes. Okay. And what's your name? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Wonderful. We have a few guests who will present at the end of our meeting today. They are Andrew Schwarz from from College of Business, excuse me. And we have two representatives from the library as Trent Dunkin and Andrea Hebert. There are no public comments registered for today's meeting. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. The minutes were circulated from our March 18th meeting via email. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Second? Who? Okay. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor to approve the minutes from March 18th, please say aye. All those against say nay. Abstentions? Okay, the minutes from March 18th pass. Dear Senators, I hope that the sight of the end of the semester is clearly visible. And since our last meeting, we have a few things we'd like to share with you. Legislative session. There are a large number of bills which could impact education under consideration at the legislature. We are working closely with the governmental relations team and other members of the administration to monitor the progress of these bills and pursue strategies to make sure LSU and our faculty are not adversely affected. We will continue this work throughout the entire session and update you if there are significant developments of which you should be aware, or if it becomes necessary to have faculty become more engaged in the process. Thank you to those who volunteered to be part of the AI committee. We have good representation from faculty ranging from library to HSS. There is a committee led by the Office of Academic Affairs, spearheaded by Jackie Bach, and the first meeting will be held soon to develop policies to govern students' use of AI in their assignments. There have been several complaints related to noise coming from the Free Speech Alley in front of the Student Union. This especially affects academic buildings in the surrounding area where classes are held regularly. The AFSAC is working with Academic Affairs to find a good solution to address it. Faculty Senate budget for this academic year was emailed to you. It includes expenses involving to run the Faculty Senate, room rentals, and so on. So you're welcome to look at it and let me know if you have any questions. Finally, the Faculty Council meeting is scheduled on Monday, April 22nd from 3 to 4 p.m. at Royal Cotillion Ballroom. Please be sure to attend. We really want to make quorum so we can pass the new the revised constitution. Also, for those who participated in the Faculty Technology Survey and opted for incentives and participation in a raffle for a chance to win one of the 3 grand prizes, they will be available at the Faculty Council meeting. You must be present to be eligible to participate in it. So please come and bring 5 other colleagues with you. Information, by the way, about the Faculty Council meeting agenda and the revised revised constitution is available on the link that was provided in my emailed version of the Faculty of my report today. So please check it out. Since this is my last meeting as in the role of Faculty Senate President, I thought that it would be meaningful to highlight what we have achieved in the last 2 years. These can be grouped in 3 broad categories. First being communication. Shortly after taking office in August of 2022, we instituted monthly broadcast emails. These aims to keep faculty at large beyond Faculty Senate informed about our monthly meetings and anything that was pertinent to teaching scholarships and matters related to faculty in general. These communications also included the much beloved What Every Faculty Member Should Know, an instant favorite that was started by our intrepid Faculty Senate Secretary, Meredith Veldman, who served with us from 22 to 23. We also published Faculty Senate President's report in advance of each meeting, detailing the monthly pertinent updates. Those were also shared in the broadcast email. Shared governance. We instituted biweekly hour-long meetings with Provost Hegarty, bringing to him and his team important issues concerning faculty. This was perhaps one of the most successful aspects of our partnership that helped us to work collaboratively together to address various problems, for which I'm very grateful. We also work closely with the administration, including the Governmental Relations Office, to address proposed legislation in each of the last 2 legislative sessions that could impact higher education to make sure faculty interests were well represented. We created an ad hoc policy committee which regularly collaborates with the Office of Academic Affairs and other administrative bodies on campus to revise and address issues related to various policies. One such partnership resulted in Provost Hegarty's instrumental effort and support in the revisions of ITS policies. As a result, last spring, we created an ad hoc Faculty Senate IT committee spearheaded by and chaired by Param Singh. This was and continues to be an incredible partnership with ITS, which involves revisions of complex policies and standards related to IT at LSU. This committee was made up of incredibly dedicated faculty who came together very quickly at the end of the spring semester of last year and worked tirelessly through the beginning of the summer. Their work resumed in the fall and is still ongoing. I am very grateful for Param for bringing this group together, and they worked for free. I mean, people were just staying for hours and hours at a time at these meetings. The collaborative work continued with the Development IT Survey, which was sent out to faculty a couple of weeks ago, as you know. This was another shared governance moment with ITS and Office of Academic Affairs. The results of this survey would be instrumental in identifying current IT-related problems, and we will work together to address them collaboratively. Another successful moment in shared governance involved the Faculty Senate Benefits Committee, HRM, and Governmental Relations in efforts to help advocate for a one-time ORP TRSL switch for faculty and staff. This resolution was proposed by the Benefits Committee in December of 2023 and was passed unanimously at the Faculty Senate. A similar resolution was echoed by the Staff Senate in early spring of this year, making it the first resolution that was ever co-sponsored by both bodies. There is a bill currently in legislature trying to address this very issue. I'd like to especially thank Roy Heidelberg, the interim chair of Benefits Committee, for his leadership and unflinching commitment to this important endeavor. Thank you so much. In efforts to help our students succeed at LSU, we collaborated with our Office of Academic Affairs to create Joint Committee on Student Achievement, which includes Faculty Senate President at its chair. It's very weird to talk about myself in third person. Jackie Bach, Office of Academic Affairs, Brendan Common, Student Accountability, Danny Barrow, Enrollment Management, and Kina Arbuthnot, Data Analytics. The charge of the committee is to identify opportunities for collaboration based on the strength of each membership unit and to share and address issues with campus community and educate how to better contribute to student achievement, especially in their first year. We worked with Office of Academic Affairs to help create an AI committee, as I mentioned earlier, to develop policy on the use of AI by our students. Finally, engagement. We instituted monthly meetings with President Tate, bringing him pertinent issues from the faculty. For the past year, we have been working with faculty members and members of the upper administration to lift AAUP's double censures. This process is ongoing, and we are cautiously optimistic about its prospects. I'd like to especially thank Dan Terone for his just exceptionally unparalleled expertise in all things related to policy, whose work has been instrumental in revisions of policies and ongoing conversations with the upper administration and the AAUP. Dan is also instrumental in other policy-related things, but AAUP has been a biggie. We created 4 ad hoc faculty committees, Committee on Committees, IT Committee, Policy Committee, and Sabbatical Review Committee to address various pertinent issues related to educational policy and faculty governance, creating more engagement and proactivity of these issues across campus. Finally, we engaged with the Board of Supervisors through the system-wide Council of Faculty Advisors and delivered faculty reports at these meetings, highlighting faculty achievements at each LSU campus. These are some of the things that we have done in the past few years. Our work is nowhere close to the finish line. However, I think we set the tone in the right course for the next Senate leadership. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the hard work put in by the chairs and members of our committees. I'd like to also thank Tricia Cobb, our wonderful Faculty Senate coordinator, who has really just seamlessly grown into her job and helps us behind the scenes. Our meetings go smoothly, really thanks to her. And I'm really thankful to you for this. And I hope she stays here forever. I'd like to also thank Faculty Senate Executive Committee. They have been continuously empowering me with their invaluable feedback and expertise that help me make the best decisions for our faculty. I could not have done it without their guidance, thoughtfulness, and dedication. Their commitment to shared governance cannot be overstated. Thank you so much. I really want to give you a round of applause. You've been just amazing. Thank you for your trust in our leadership, and it has been an honor to serve you. Are there any questions about the Faculty Senate President report on the issues I mentioned earlier? Okay. So our next order of business is new business, and it's Faculty Senate Executive Committee elections. You have in front of you our confirmed nominees, and we will vote in the order presented on the screen, starting with the Faculty Senate President. The confirmed nominee is Daniel Tyrone, and I'd like to invite him to read his statement.
Thank you. Test. There we go. Carmela runs a very tight ship, and I'm not going to go too far off of script here, but just giving context, we really owe Anessa a tremendous debt of gratitude for all the work she's put in over the last 2 years. She's very generous with praise and, dare I say, humble in accepting it. And we really owe her a debt that is hard to express. And I hope that at the appropriate time, we're able to really recognize everything she's done on behalf of the faculty. So thank you, Anessa. And now back to the agenda. Having worked closely with Anessa for the last 2 years, one lesson I've learned is that serving as Faculty Senate President is entirely irrational. I don't have sufficient time to explain why, though you can likely guess. So I'll instead address why I want to do it anyway. For me, it comes down to 3 things: responsibility, rules, and relationships. I believe in the ability of higher education to improve lives, and that it is our responsibility, particularly those of us who have the privilege to work at the state flagship, to advocate for and defend it at every opportunity. And what I am sure is going to be shocking news to you, I also believe that rules are important. We must continue to make sure that the rules, policies, and laws that govern higher education enhance our ability to benefit our campus community and our state and are not weaponized against us. And finally, governance is ultimately about relationships. I value the work done by the FSCC members and know that with the outstanding candidates running today, I would be a member of an incredible team dedicated to making LSU the best it can be. It is for these reasons that I ask that you allow me the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
So in addition to the confirmed nominee, are there any nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none, Dan Tyrone has been elected as Faculty Senate President by acclamation. Congratulations. Okay, our next position is Vice President. And the confirmed nominee is Parampreet Singh, and I'd like to invite him to read his statement.
So dear friends, nomination committee gave us a very strict guideline to not speak more than 200 words. And I'm sorry, Carmela, again, like I would really love to thank whole Senate and FSEC, especially Nessa and Dan, for giving such a flourishing team and giving everyone an opportunity to grow. So I have to choose my words very carefully, but it's exactly 200 words now. So my years in service to the Faculty Senate have been one of the most transformative years of my life. I express my deepest gratitude to all my colleagues in the Senate, in academic leadership, as well as in administration, who provided me numerous opportunities to be of service to LSU. Dedicating myself to all service opportunities, big or small, I realized what is true shared governance. Not only does it involve adaptation and internal growth by all stakeholders, but it also involves belongingness. Not only does it involve active engagement and participation, but it demands accountability from all. And when there is accountability and belongingness, courageous and dedicated teams to make a better community naturally emerge and mountains can be moved. As an example, what we did for ad hoc FSIT committee. With the change in leadership 2 years ago, the Faculty Senate has made many new beginnings, but our journey has only begun. There are some clouds on the horizon and there is a lot to accomplish. If honored to be service to you as a Vice President of the Senate, with all dedication, I will promote above principles of true shared governance and do my best to protect faculty rights and continue making LSU a better place. Thank you.
In addition to the confirmed nominee, are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none. Parampreet Singh has been elected Faculty Senate Vice President by acclamation. Congratulations. The confirmed nominee for secretary is Kevin Ringelman, and I'd like him to come up and read his statement.
All right, I got to go totally off script. It's been a wild week and a half professionally. And so I just signed a contract with another university this morning. And so I am therefore withdrawing my candidacy for Secretary of FSEC. I am not a senator, so I can't nominate anybody in my place. But I can say that in FSEC, we've had internal discussions and Michelle has indicated that she would be willing to take on that responsibility. So thank you all for the opportunity to serve. This team has been incredible to work with. Like, I don't like going to meetings, but this was a meeting that I honestly look forward to every week. So thank you.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? Okay, hearing none. Michelle Osborne has been elected Faculty Senate Secretary. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Make a statement. I'm sorry. I'm jumping to conclusion. I want this to be over. Sorry.
All right, and following in everyone else's footsteps, I would like to thank the committee. I was new to Faculty Senate when I was elected to the committee, and it's really been a great experience, a good learning experience. And I can say in the past few months, I think I've grown, I won't say exponentially, but a lot. And since I prepared my statement for a member at large, I'm going to go a little bit off script, but try to keep to it. I once envisioned my future self as a quintessential academic, a lone figure toiling away in my wood-paneled office with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a maroon armchair. But my days are filled with collaborative efforts with those with whom I team teach and those I teach, the various collaborators and students with whom I conduct research, or the many colleagues with whom I serve my academic field, school, and university. Recent examples of such efforts include meeting with President Tate to discuss faculty engagement, enrollment management, and salary inversion, or serving on the newly formed AI discussion group as the ASH representative. Success of each of these collaborative efforts requires a fluid reciprocity between listening and leading, listening to concerns or opinions that differ from my own, leading by recognizing if, when, and how action should be taken. Decisions affecting so many should be weighed by more than one mind. As a current member of large at FSEC, our discussions are often lively and not necessarily always harmonious. But we work together in good faith for all faculty to strengthen our collective voice and improve our experience. If elected as a secretary, I will continue to bring my empathetic mentality and a willingness to speak strongly or work quietly with purpose for all of us. Thank you.
Are there any other additional nominations from the floor? I'm going to wait a little bit longer since I messed up 2 minutes ago. Okay, hearing none, Michelle Osborne has been elected Faculty Senate Secretary. Congratulations. Okay, so there are several confirmed members at large for today. So we have Kyla Kazachek, Music and Dramatic Arts, Kenneth Lapata, College of Science, James Madden, College of Science, and I think we can officially withdraw Michelle. I don't know how, Dan, what's the, she's now just automatically withdrawn. Okay. And there is also an additional nominee today, and I will recognize Mayank Tyagi, who has put forth his nomination, and I will give you each your turn to read your statement. And I'd like to invite Kyla Kazachek to read her statement. Oh, first say that. Okay, so are there any other additional nominations aside from the confirmed nominations? Okay, none. Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I served as Faculty Senate Representative from 2017 to 2019, and I was elected to serve as incoming member at large 22-23 and re-elected this past year. 90 minutes a week plus time spent working on projects outside of meetings is a significant time commitment, and yet somehow still feels like not enough time to address the myriad of challenges that face our university. Even after all our accomplishments that Inessa just listed, was a lot, I still feel as if we've only just begun to scratch the surface of all the work there is to do to make our LSU community a better place. I've learned about how systems within the university operate and how we can work together to improve them. Through lines I have seen through my work with this group, as co-chair of the Integrative Learning Core community, as a member of the selection committee for the incoming Dean of Students, as a member of the Administrative Processes Improvement Committee, plus several college and department-wide committees include a growing need to streamline, to organize, and to communicate clearly and honestly. I would welcome the opportunity to continue to ask questions, to share information, and to do the work that is necessary. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to invite Ken Lapata from College of Science to read his statement.
There we go. So hi, I'm Ken Lopata. I'm in the chemistry department at LSU. So I will stick to my 182 word as an old not go off script, which is kind of hard for a scientist giving us some speech. So I joined the Faculty Senate in 2022, and it constituted my first sustained university level service. The experience has been eye-opening. In addition to my active participation in Senate sessions, my work on the Faculty Senate sabbatical and ad hoc FSIT committee have been important in showing me how important academic governance is here at LSU. This is especially true of my ongoing work as an integral member of the FSIT committee, which is currently reviewing over 50, 60 documents of complex IT and security policies line by line. And so that's basically, I think, an hour, 2 hours a week. It's like 40 sessions or something like that. So universities are heterogeneous environments with diverse needs and risks. And my goal as a member of the FSIT and as a senator in general has always been to address these needs whilst carefully navigating around potential impacts to faculty teaching, research, and freedoms. And so it's my intention to continue and deepen these efforts as a member of the FSEC, where I can help ensure that faculty voices are heard on a broad range of topics. I feel I'll be a strong addition to FSEC, where my attention to detail, fair-mindedness, and ability to work collaboratively, both within committees and across the university, will be assets. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Jim Madden to come and read his statement. Also College of Science.
Hi, I'm a professor of mathematics. And if elected, my attention will be focused on the following three key challenges. First, protecting academic freedom. The Senate needs to monitor threats to our core values and to the institutional structures, such as tenure, that enable us to carry out academic work. And it must develop strategies to protect those values and structures. Second, maximizing opportunity for all. The university is necessarily selective in whom it admits, hires, and/or promotes. This process must be based on a shared understanding of the common good, and the common good is not found in any dogma or abstraction, but in thoughtful engagement. The Faculty Senate needs to join university leadership in a sensitive, inspiring, and trustworthy, as a sensitive, inspiring, and trustworthy voice in engaging our entire state with clarity and pride in the values that inspire us as a public university as we help to build a better life for all. And third, the quality of the academic workplace, with particular attention to the role of technology, including artificial intelligence. Technology supports instruction, organizational tasks, such as grant applications, reporting, and purchasing, and research. Assuring the quality of the academic workplace of the future requires improved communication between users, support staff, and IT decision makers. The Senate should be involved in promoting an optimal information ecosystem. That's 200 words.
Last but not least, I'd like to invite Mayank Tyagi from College of Engineering to make his statement.
Hello, sorry for turning in my assignment late. Should have done it a little tidbit about me is I've probably seen every stage of life at LSU. I was a graduate student in mechanical engineering, then was a research staff at Center for Computation and Technology, and then started my faculty journey in 2007. So I've done all. I've seen every aspect as a student, as a staff, and now as professor in Petroleum Engineering Department, jointly appointed with Center for Computation and Technology. So I started my Faculty Senate journey last fall, 2023. During my short tenure on the Faculty Senate, I've served on the Faculty Education Committee and participated in the Senate discussions actively. While listening to my colleagues on the Faculty Senate, I've learned that the service and leadership are the two faces of the same coin. Strong leadership during the turbulent times needs to address the engagement of all of its constituents to their best ability. Like, you have learned it in a superhero Spider-Man saying, with great power comes great responsibility. It is imperative that the accountability of our leadership's actions and its long-term implication for the well-being of Louisiana's flagship university, which includes all stakeholders, students, fellow faculty members, and staff, is held to its highest standards. I firmly believe that the faculty commitment to the strong foundations of our institute starts from their participation in actively defining what they aspire to be. Thank you.
Before we go ahead and roll call, I'd like to just make a note of something from our bylaws. So bylaws Article 6, Item 2 requires that one at-large seat be held open for election for a newly elected senator in the fall. That's why we will be electing 2 at-large members at today's meeting. Since Param Singh was elected as vice president, our Constitution Article 6, Item 1 prevents more than 2 individuals from the same college or school, not within a college, from serving as voting members on the FSEC in an academic year. Thus, only one of Madden or Lapata can be elected due to Param's election as vice president. So just FYI. We will hold a roll call vote in which each senator gets to cast 2 votes at the same time, though cannot vote for a single candidate more than once. I will ask Param as our secretary to do the roll call. And when your name is called, please choose from, so instead of Michelle, I don't know if we can we somehow change the name so people can see the names clearly? Is this better? Yeah. Okay. So everyone knows who it is. Do you guys know who it is? So it's Kazachek. You want to see it go back? You want to just oh, right. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. You know, perfect. We used to do paper. When did that change?
When we were deemed a public body, because public bodies can't do ballot voting, it has to be the vote. It was a change imposed on us with that set.
So it's just like. And just leave this up for people to see. So when your name is called, just say Kazachek, Lapata, Madden, or Tiagi. So you just say 2 names.
Okay, so we are going to have an election now for 2 positions of members at large. The candidates are Kaila Kazuchik, Ken Lopata, James Madden, and Mayank Tyagi. I'm going to call roll now of each senator. And if you are an alternate, I'll try to make a note you are an alternate here. I'll do it twice. So for example, the first senator is Achut Adhikari. And if Achut Adhikari is present, Achut will say, whatever the 2 names Achut chooses, I will repeat that vote so that everyone can record, and then I'll go to the next senator. If there is any correction, you can raise your hand and we'll correct it. Okay. So the first senator, I'll go alphabetically in the senator's name so that we can, you can see like whose name is coming. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's start. First senator's name, and then we'll go forward. Achyut Adhikari. Achyut Adhikari is absent. Lily Allen. One year. You can also give a pass right now and come back in the end. Sure. So Lily Allen votes for Kyla Kazuchek and Ken Lopata. Kayunesh Ayana.
Yes, I vote for Kenneth and James.
Kayunesh Ayana votes for Ken Lopata and Jim Madden. Scott Baldridge. Scott Baldridge votes for Ken Lopata and Jim Madden. Maria Pampasudo. Maria Pampasudo votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. John Bards. Meredith, in place of John Bards, votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Stan Barrera. Stan Barrera votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Gerald Baumgartner. Gerald Baumgartner is absent. Brett Boutwell. Brett Boutwell votes for Kazuchek and Madden. James Canfield. James Canfield votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Yang Chen. You can always abstain if you don't want to vote. Okay. Jennifer Blanchard voting for Yan Chen abstains. John Church. John Church votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Fabio Del Piero. Fabio Del Piero, absent. Ray Diamond. Ray Diamond, absent. Gary Dooley. Gary Dooley votes for Tyagi and Lopata. Thomas Doutat. Thomas Doutat votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Hallie Dozier. Hallie Dozier votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Mehdi Farasat. Mehdi Farasat votes for Kazuchek and Tyagi. Matthew Freeman. Matthew Freeman, absent. Meredith Gaglio. Meredith Gaglio, absent. Janine Grodeski. And sorry, what was your name? Jacqueline Hatfield for Janin Grodeski votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Roy Heidelberg. Roy Heidelberg votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Ashim Herman. Ashim Herman votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Matthew Hyatt. Kevin Shu for Matthew Hyatt votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Ryan Hulteen. Ryan Hulteen votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Catherine Jacquet. Herman Kelly for Catherine Jacquet votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Kareem Johari. Kareem Johari absent. Kyla Kazuchek. Kyla Kazuchek abstains. Revati Kumar. Revati Kumar votes for Lopata and Tyagi. Tracy LeBlanc. Tracy LeBlanc absent. Joseph Lagoria. Joseph Lagoria absent. Ken Lopata. Ken Lopata votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Jim Madden. Jim Madden votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Bob Mann. Judith Sylvester for Bob Mann votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Paul Manthi. Paul Manthi absent. Sarah Matthews. Sarah Matthews votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Carmela Matza. Carmela Matza votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Marcia Newcomer. Marcia Newcomer votes for Lopata and Madden. Wayne Newhouser. Wayne Newhouser absent. Michelle Osborne. Michelle Osborne pass. Patricia Carres William. Patricia Carres William absent. Leonard Ray. Leonard Ray absent. Molly Redfield. Molly Redfield votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Sarah Pepin-Roser. Sarah Pepin-Roser votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Rosemary Peters Hill. Rosemary Peter Hill vote for Kazuchek and Madden. Michael Rosso. Michael Rosso votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Subramaniam Sathivel. Michael Keenan, alternate for Subramaniam Sathivel, votes for Lopata and Madden. Ingmar Schogel. Ingmar Schogel votes for Madden Tyagi. Edward Shihade. Edward Shihade votes for Kazuchek Lopata. Param Singh abstains. Paul Soto. Paul Soto votes for Kazuchek and Tyagi. Brenton Stewart. Brenton Stewart absent. Chow Sun. Chow Sun absent. Michelle Todd. Michelle Todd votes for Kazuchek and Madden. Mayank Tyagi. Mayank Tyagi votes for Lopata and Tyagi. Adriano Wata. Adriano Wata votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Paulo Waltridge. Paulo Waltridge, absent. Kathy Williams. Kathy Williams vote for Lopata and Madden. Jianan Wu. Jianan Wu, absent. Yezhen Wu. Yezhen Wu, absent. Alison Zhao. Alison Zhao votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Jun Zhao. Jun Zhao votes for Kazuchek and Lopata. Is there anyone who did not vote or I incorrectly counted absent and would like to vote? Michelle Osborne, you passed. Would you like to vote? Michelle Osborne abstains. Okay. I call the roll to close and we can tally the results now.
Confirm. Okay. Okay, I'm happy to announce that Kyla Kazuchik and Ken Lopata had the majority votes and they win the election for a member at large. Congratulations. Do I need to say how many? No? Okay. Okay, perfect. Before we go on, I just want to thank the nominating committee and Carmela Matza as the chair. Thank you so much for putting this together and for working with us and being so diligent. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, our next order of business is new business. It's resolution 2401. Supporting academic freedom and inquiry through institutional neutrality on social and political issues, sponsored by Scott Baldridge and many others. I'd like to invite Scott Baldridge to give the introduction and then read the resolution. Sure. Thank you.
Hold it.
Yes.
Right there. Huh? So thank you, everybody. Institutional neutrality, keep a little off. Institutional neutrality is the idea that upper administration of a university should only speak out on social or political issues that pertain to the academic mission of the university, or speak to defend the university's culture of academic freedom and inquiry. For example, if country X is embroiled in a civil war, then the president of LSU should refrain from issuing a statement that takes a side in that war. However, the president should defend the right of Professor Y, who studies country X, to make statements or disseminate research about country X and the Civil War, irrespective of whether or not the president personally agrees with that professor. Institutional neutrality is firmly planted in the culture of academic freedom and inquiry, and the university as a forum for rigorous debate. Non-neutrality can jeopardize these cherished ideals. For example, if an institutional leader takes a side publicly on a civil war of country, on the side of one of the sides in the Civil War of country X, then this can have a real or even just a perceived ramifications on Professor Y in conducting their research. So even if there's no real, it still can be perceived that way. By staying silent on issues outside of the academic mission, administration provides the necessary space for professors and students to discuss the issues and express novel ideas for the benefit of all. Most of the time, leadership does not want to issue statements, but feel compelled to for a number of reasons, some of which are outlined in the resolution. When we get there, you'll see them. Due to recent examples of such statements being issued and criticism from those statements then drew, institutional neutrality has come back into popularity. First immortalized by the University of Chicago in its Calvin Report in 1967. That's a long time now. We have almost 60 years of experience with them, what constitutes good ways to go about implementing them, and what should be in them. For example, sometimes when an institutional neutrality is imposed by upper administration or state legislatures, institutional neutrality policies created top-down counter academic freedom. They just aren't aware of what it's like to be a professor and so on. So, from those examples and experience, we address the following important considerations in this resolution, so look for them. Institutional neutrality should emphasize the academic freedom and inquiry of the faculty and students and a commitment to the responsibilities that those freedoms entail. And at the same time, institutional neutrality should not limit upper administration's ability to articulate and defend the academic mission of the university or the culture of academic freedom. Finally, institutional neutrality should be defined bottom up from the faculty, not imposed top down from upper administration. And it should apply at the dean's level and above. And that's important because if you include down to the department, we consider the department to be the faculty. So if you push neutrality down to the department level, you are in effect stifling the faculty at the department level. The over 25 sponsors and editors of this resolution have thought through these matters very carefully and feel that this Senate resolution strongly captures the culture of free inquiry that we as faculty want here at LSU. Note that this resolution is not averse to administration. President Tate showed his favorability to institutional neutrality in his November 2023 speech that he gave to this body. Nor is it adverse to the people of Louisiana. The responsibilities that come with academic freedom protect against indoctrination, something that our parents of our state can appreciate. However, time is of the essence. We are still in a window where faculty and not some outside influence can shape what institutional neutrality should look like at LSU. So we're in that window. So therefore, I move that the Faculty Senate adopt the following resolution. Yes, please. The one from earlier too. Okay, good. So supporting academic freedom inquiry through institutional neutrality on social and political issues, sponsored by Scott Baldridge, Charles Dalzell, Joshua Ellis, James Garan, Rosemary Peter Hill, Edward Shahade, Leslie Schramm, Samuel Snow, Victor Stater, Jacqueline Steffens, and James R. Stoner Jr. So, whereas the American Association of the University Professors, AAUP, states that the function of an academic institution is to, quote, promote inquiry and advance the sum of human knowledge, to provide general instruction to the students, and to develop experts for various branches of the public service, unquote. Whereas the AAUP further states, quote, academic freedom of faculty comprise three elements: freedom of inquiry and research, freedom of teaching within the university or college, and freedom of extramural utterances and action. Whereas faculty must be responsible with these freedoms, so must institutional leadership be responsible when it comes to making statements on behalf of the institution about a social or political issue. Whereas there may appear in the moment to be reasons for making such statements: social pressure to show awareness, responsiveness or empathy, desire to build goodwill with a favored group, or desire to enlist the prestige of LSU to advance a given side of an issue. Whereas institutional leaders must consider the long-term costs that reactive statements, public stances, or other actions may incur. They include the discouragement of curiosity and open-minded exploration of a topic, the displacement of scholarly discourse with simplistic position statements, or worse, institutional orthodoxy, the implications of consequences for expressing dissenting viewpoints, the incentivization of lobbying from inside or outside groups to endorse their preferred side of an issue, the undermining of the prestige and public trust of LSU, the calling into question silence on other issues, as well as other costs. Whereas LSU is uniquely situated in the state of Louisiana to elevate and improve public debate by relying on scholars who can articulate and defend their expert opinions, by hosting thoughtful discussions, by encouraging faculty and students to freely formulate research and express novel views from the widest range of possibilities. Where the LSU community can, and over time and in support of the academic mission, respond to public debate with depth, nuance, expertise, viewpoint diversity, and a commitment to ongoing discussions in the pursuit of truth, understanding, and compassion. And whereas the academic mission of Louisiana State University is, quote, designated as a land and sea and space grant institution, LSU secures, elevates, and advances Louisiana and the world through the generation, preservation, dissemination, and application of knowledge and cultivation of the arts, and develops students who are prepared, confident, inspired to achieve lifelong success. Therefore, be it resolved that the LSU Faculty Senate affirm the following statement on institutional neutrality, to wit, quote, on social and political issues, the instrument of dissent and criticism is the individual faculty member or the individual student. The university is the home and sponsor of critics. It is not itself a critic. The neutrality of the university as an institution arises then not from a lack of courage, nor out of indifference or insensitivity. It arises out of respect for free inquiry and the obligation to cherish a diversity of viewpoints. The neutrality of LSU as an institution is its complement in the fullest freedoms for its faculty and students as individuals to participate in political action and social discourse. It also finds its complement in the obligation of the university to provide a forum for the most searching and candid discussions of public issues. Therefore, to empower and protect academic freedom and inquiry for faculty and students, when a social or political issue arises that does not directly concern the academic mission of LSU, leadership at or above the college or school level will not issue a position statement on that issue and will refrain from any other actions that could constrain faculty discourse. When a public issue arises that directly, significantly, and specifically affects the academic mission of LSU or jeopardizes the culture of academic freedom and inquiry, leadership at or above the college or school level will have the responsibility to articulate the significance of that issue on behalf of our community. Resolved, that the Senate recommend that the university include this statement as part of LSU Policy 15, Policy Statement 15, Academic Freedom, Free Speech, and Tenure. So thank you.
Floor is open for discussion.
Yes.
I'm Mike Russo from the library. I may be out of the loop, but did something happen that prompted this resolution?
Well, let's say a number of public events of the last 6 months, and in terms of statements that were being made by presidents at other universities.
Can you be more specific?
Harvard and the statements about October 6th.
Okay. So this this resolution would like the university to comment only on matters that are directly and specifically related to the academics,
Academic mission.
the academic mission, and should remain deaf, dumb, and blind to issues of morality.
That's not necessarily what's going to happen, or what the expectation is. So it doesn't say anything about what the faculty should be doing. So faculty should absolutely be applying their expertise and making statements and so on. And we explicitly say that's that's
So in terms of any issue that is not directly related to the academic mission, the faculty is free to make whatever comments
absolutely
they would like, but the university is not.
well, we should be careful. It's you're making comments within the scope of responsibilities of your own of your academic freedom, right? So academic freedom comes with responsibilities, and as they say, if you President Tate said, if you're talking about something that is part of your field, then yes.
Thank you.
Like a faculty member does research and gets a result that the leader of the university disagrees with, they cannot demote or reprimand that researcher. That's what that would mean.
Yeah, that would the research is in terms of your academic freedom.
Yeah.
And academic freedom for us is defined on the first page. So it's this quote right here: academic freedom of faculty comprises of three elements: freedom of inquiry and research. So that would be what you're talking about. Freedom of teaching within the university or college, and freedom of extramural utterances and actions.
And because these have gone on that we're aware of in the news, that this is good.
That's right. Yeah, one of the things we have to worry about is if we as faculty don't define what we mean by institutional neutrality, someone else will. Okay? Yes.
So Adriano Vetta from the vet school. I just have a question. So in the case of the well-publicized cases of Harvard, MIT, and I think it was University of Pennsylvania,
Yes.
those leadership figures were called to Congress to testify. Are we saying that in such situations they should not give an opinion? I don't think they had a choice but to speak on behalf of the university.
They would, if they had institutional neutrality, they could say that that it's their job to promote free speech and academic inquiry inside their universities.
Even when that extends to hate speech?
And that's a good question. So when it comes to being an officer of an institution, you still have an obligation for things like aggression. So if speech hits to a point where it becomes aggressive, then there's already policy. It doesn't really pertain, this statement doesn't pertain to that, because there's already policies in effect that talk about when speech becomes threatening. There's essentially laws from the federal government all the way down to the state, and there's policy statements already made in LSU policy statements. I think Dan could probably tell us what they are, but I couldn't. But there's already policies that the institutional leadership is obligated to follow. So it has nothing. If someone you're comparing cats to dogs at this point. Does it make sense?
Okay, well, can you explain the difference between the cats and the dogs? Because I'm sorry, I'm just not
if
following.
if something descends into aggressive behavior or violence, like speech that threatens violence, there's already laws that have well-defined lines of when you've crossed those lines. And under those circumstances, the Institute already has obligations to take care to uphold those laws. That's not what this is saying. This is saying that the president of LSU can't put out a statement saying, for example, the one I used for physics is that string theory is the only one true theory of everything. Yeah, like there's no, he can't come, the president can't make a policy statement that says, or issue a statement that says 2 + 2 = 5. So it's not about what happens when speech goes awry. That's been hashed out over hundreds of years in our laws and our customs and our culture. Anything that happens that goes awry in that regards is still the obligation of the Institute, still the obligation of the president and the institutional leaders.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to hold the floor, but I guess who are we trying to protect with this resolution is what I'm getting at. Whose free speech are we trying to protect?
Faculty.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If the president declares that, as the Indiana legislature did, almost voted on in 1897, that pi, the value of pi, something that for a mathematician like me cares about. They almost voted that pi, the value of pi was 3.2. Kinda. It came close. And only fortunately, there was a mathematician that happened to be visiting the Capitol that day. People know not to vote on it, vote yes on that. But if that was to happen, that could, if a president was to say the value of pi is 3.2, I'm making an absurd, it seems like an absurd example, except for it actually almost happened. Well, yeah, that's true. But that's true. I did say we're talking about civil wars. Yeah.
Let me hold
So,
them.
but the point is that in that case, if the president was to say that, right, and then I have to go out and say something against him, I am now under that consequences of implication of consequences. And what we're trying to do is set it up so that the president really is just there to defend us and not have to make special statements for every single thing that comes along.
Okay, well, thank you.
Another way to maybe put this is that when the president does make statements, right, then it won't be for every single topic that comes along. And so then it actually becomes weightier because it will be about the academic mission.
So I'm Judith Sylvester from Bob Mann at the Manship School, and Bob circulated this to see if there was any reaction among our faculty. And really, I mean, we didn't get any to speak of, but he and I both were not at all sure who it was meant to protect. So I'm not sure it's really as clear as you all think it is. And I worry a little bit about it just being called a statement of neutrality because there are people who don't read past the first paragraph. And I'm very concerned that they don't get to the part about it protecting faculty, that it just sounds like the university has got to be completely neutral on everything that happens. But that being said, could you clarify what you mean with the deans? What are you, I wasn't sure
So,
whether.
When we looked, so again, we have 60 years of what has happened. And what we're trying to do is avoid some of the things that have happened with institutional neutrality. So for example, one of the ways that institutional neutrality has been used in the past, and this is usually when it comes kind of top down, when it's instituted top down or from the state legislatures, is that they declare that everything everywhere has to be neutral. And the idea is then they push it down into the department level so that each department then kind of squelches what the department, the group of faculty, which is who we are, can speak to. So in a way, it's
What's the dean's role in this?
oh, it's just a level. You just think of it as a level. So at that level, you're getting into upper administration.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. So like we're journalism and, mass communication. So we have had times in the past when our dean like we all were concerned about something, like, for example, a journalist who gets thrown in jail because they won't reveal their sources and there's no protection. So we've actually had the dean, for example, write a letter of support for that faculty members could sign if they chose to sign it or not. So my question is, would a dean not be permitted to do that sort of, are you discouraging a dean from being a leader in correcting some of the wrongs? Are you so afraid that
So that affects the academic mission of the school. So at that point, yes, they absolutely and it should be said that right now, as far as I'm aware of, we can ask Dan, the policy expert here. As far as I'm aware, there is nothing in the current policies that say that the deans have to defend or are responsible or the president is responsible for defending our academic freedoms and the academic mission.
But would they be discouraged from doing that, is what I'm saying, or from taking on issues that would be maybe particular to us?
So if you look back in the history, by the way, thank you for this question, right? In the past, there have been presidents or leadership that has been hesitant to do that because they're afraid that maybe they're stepping on neutrality statements or what have you. Because the neutrality just says, some neutrality statements at some universities just say no speech, by the institutional leaders. And so then they feel like, well, can I even promote, can I defend my institution? And the answer is no. In this case, it wasn't even true. If you go back and look at the Calvin report was very clear about actually giving institutional leaders the ability to defend their institutions. But because it wasn't maybe understood, and maybe there were certain leaders that didn't quite understand what the policy was, they felt like they couldn't. We're actually saying this is a very big difference between those type of statements and our statement. Our statement says it is actually their responsibility. It says that right here. So what I'm trying to say is that there. So when there is an issue, they have the responsibility. And that, again, like I have to say this is not right now written into any of our policies. Right now, the only thing in our policy says that the faculty are responsible. Okay, so this would be an improvement in that regard.
Right. So I just wanted to add, if I can, Rosemary Peters Hill, French Studies. And there are two cases I can think of off the top of my head. One was about a decade ago at the University of Indiana, sorry, Professor Stephen Salida, who had been been given a contract for a job, and somebody found his tweets about Palestine and said, this is inappropriate. It's uncivil discourse, and his job offer was rescinded. And so there is a huge case. AAUP got involved, and it's on the list of violations of free speech in academia of the PEN America list that they put together. So there's that. And then like happening right now in the LSU system, there is a tenured professor of chemistry at LSU Shreveport who made some comments about the way a local waste site was affecting the environment. And Shreveport has decided to fire him. So he has a tenure, like a hearing coming up that that hasn't been decided yet. He's, but they're trying to get rid of him, and they're saying it's about shared governance. They're saying, his comments had become distracting from the mission of shared governance. But they're not protecting his right to free speech. And we don't have that written into our policy statements anywhere. So, it's like, who is it protecting? It's protecting you. It's protecting me. That's the idea. Sorry. So maybe it's not a perfect resolution. It shouldn't have to be there, which is, I think, why it's kind of strange to look at and consider. But this is a starting point at a time in our society and in academia in America that the freedom to speak freely in our research areas is being cut away at little by little.
Me again. One of the weaknesses that I see in this resolution is this: if there is an issue that arises that is not directly involved with the academic mission of the university, and this becomes policy, an individual faculty member, a high-ranking faculty member, a faculty organization such as the Faculty Senate might issue statements on that, but the administration does not and cannot, as a matter of policy. I would think in that vacuum, it is going to be the assumption of the public that the faculty making the statement speaks for the university.
At what level though? Right, like, so it's at the departmental level that we're
I'm
asking.
talking about at a level with the public.
So this would be at the level of where the expertise resides, though, presumably, right? Like if I get the math department to declare that pi is not 3.2, but in fact a irrational number, that would be fully within the math department's ability to make a statement about this. In fact, I say this kind of tongue in cheek, but there's actually a whole, Twitter is the dump X, I call it X, I guess it's X now. There's an entire dumpster fire thing going on in X right now about 2 + 2 = 5. And coming up with, they want to come up with reasons why 2 + 2 = 5, and prominent mathematicians who won field medals giving examples where supposedly 2 + 2 = 5. It's fully within the right of the department to issue such statements about things that they're experts in. I see no problem with this.
So you might want to add, if you want to push this forward, you might want to add that individual faculty members making statements can issue only statements that are only within their purview.
That I think we're okay with, because can you?
So that's actually already PS 15, which is proposed that this be added to. PS 15 says limitations. It says faculty cannot speak for the university as a whole. Academic freedom says you can only speak within your area of expertise. So I believe the sponsors want to add it onto that, but a lot of that material is already in the existing policy statement.
Okay.
It's already there.
But that doesn't address my point, though. My point is that a faculty member or a faculty body speaking out on an issue ipso facto becomes the statement of the university if the administration says.
Oh, right now, there's nothing that says that the administration isn't ipso facto declaring what the institute is saying about a given issue. You see what I'm saying? Like, what we're trying to do is we're trying to push the level of discourse down to the expert to the level of debate that's going on amongst faculty in their respective fields. Yes. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say that maybe I disagree with my colleagues who are on the floor, though I recognize maybe the confusion. So I guess this is more of a statement, and if I speak wrongly, please correct me. But I think this is well written because it clarifies that this is the LSU leadership, which trickles down. So I think the fact that, especially that it redefines that it's the dean and up, is because, at least in the School of Music, the department chair is from the faculty, where the deans are brought in at sometimes a national search. So are presidents, so are provosts. Everything above that level is not necessarily, though it could be in some cases, someone from the LSU faculty. So therefore, they may make comments that could be outside of their scope, that could be not a reflection of the faculty. And so I think that this makes clear delineation between LSU faculty, keeping LSU faculty to have their academic freedom, to have the freedom to make statements that, again, are not a reflection of LSU stance per se. But if someone who is in leadership makes a stance and says that statement is assumed, to my assumption myself, by the general public as the stance of the university. So if the president came out and said that the sky is green, then that would look like that is a view of LSU. And anybody who publishes under that, because that's someone in a very high level of power, could possibly face academic, I don't know, persecution. I don't know what the thing would be, but you would face consequences. And so I think that this is well written. And if I said something that's not correct, please do. But I just wanted to point out that I think this clearly delineates faculty from leadership, not associated technically with faculty.
Thank you. That's exactly it. And that came about through the deliberations of all the sponsors and editors. That was a very important point that was eventually made. Well, eventually was understood, let's say.
Ed Shahada from Sorry, did I step
go
on
ahead.
anybody?
You go ahead.
Ed Shahada, criminology, sociology. Yeah, I wanted to reflect on this, that the definition of pie was not the first time that Indiana University or Indiana inserted itself into major policy questions. As some of you may know recently, what happened recently at Indiana University of Bloomington. The legislature there, which was an activist, is an activist legislature, and that may sound familiar to some of us here, inserted itself and pressured the university. This was recent. A faculty member at Indiana University invited a speaker in, pretty innocuous stuff, actually, when you look at it. But that faculty member, after pressure from the legislature, he is now suspended pending investigation. Following that, fairly recently, this is only months old, an artist who was having an exhibit at Indiana University, her art exhibit was canceled after pressure from the legislature. This is happening across the country, and my concern is that with very activist legislatures, and this is not directed, this is not a resolution directed at this legislature or anything specific, but this is going to be imposed upon us rather than us sort of defining our own and charting our own course. This is a real threat that we're facing. And so this is an attempt here to define and to protect our academic freedom. You and I may disagree on a topic. It doesn't matter whether it's the Ukraine or I don't care what it is, climate change or whatever it is, Israel and Palestine, whatever it might be. But I don't need the administrator defining what I need to think about that. Let us hack it out. We are the subject matter experts. We are trained in thinking and to come up with these statements. And of course, we invite the students to come along as well, because we don't want all, there's sometimes we have students that may disagree with an official position of a university, and that also hampers the classroom. It does as well. And I find I have to draw these students out. It's okay, say what you feel, say what you feel. We need an environment where we're free to speak, free to express ourselves, rather than the alarming constraints that are faced in places like Indiana University and others. And I don't think we can afford to wait because we have a legislature now here that, you know, who knows what might happen. We need to protect ourselves. We need to be proactive and not reactive.
Hi, I'm James from social work. How are you? I may have a couple follow-up questions. First, is leadership clearly defined anywhere else? I ask this question because in reading it, it says leadership at or above the college or school level. And I wonder, where does this body fit within that? Because as I've been reading up about the professor from Shreveport and kind of issues with faculty government, I don't know all the details of that, but I know that it arises from that. Are we as a body allowed to take position statements? I mean, I full well support academic freedom. I've been a member of AAUP for a long time. But I'm just concerned with how it's written. Is leadership clearly defined? Do we need to add qualifiers about individual leadership? Where do we fit within that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty well defined. We thought about this too, right?
Well,
What about the faculty senate?
Well, that's
But
great.
leadership at or above the college or school levels, that implies school or college.
We are leaders. Are we at or above the school level? Are we separate?
Is the faculty senate
Yeah,
part of a
I'm
school?
legitimately asking this because I'm glad you thought of it, but
Yeah, we have thought
this
about
gives
it.
wiggle
So
room because, okay, so great, but how it's written just says leadership at or above the school level. So
is
are
the,
we,
again, I say,
Yeah.
is the faculty senate part of a school?
well, are we considered at or above? No, are we considered at or above the school level, or are we a completely separate like body institution? I'm asking the executive committee that as well.
Oh, yeah.
How do we operate in that space? Because I think
Dan?
that is a concern with how that's is written.
I mean, this is an interesting question, which is not to have a caveat. I mean, we are clearly on the faculty side and we have authority over academic policy only. So we don't set policy for any particular unit, although we do have to clear policies for units that want to adopt things that are part of the sort of the overall curriculum and things like this. I think the reference to administration in the administration faculty divide, we are clearly part of the academic staff, not administrative staff. So it could be read through that that prism. And certainly I understand the intent of the sponsors is to single out administration on what we would clearly call the administrative side, not the faculty side. Whether that can be refined further, I think is a question that can be legitimately discussed. But I don't think right now that we would be considered administration in this, to the same degree as deans or above.
Right. So my concern is that all intentions aside, someone reading this, reading up on what's happening in Shreveport and things like that, and then also having gone through, well, we've gone through the pandemic and dealing with that on faculty senate together. So we all know how things get hijacked against us at times with some wiggle room within some of the way we're phrasing this. I'm just concerned that that may not be specific enough to do what it is that we're trying to do within this. I mean, I'm all for that, or whatever.
Yeah, Thomas? Oh, sorry.
Well, my question was kind of the same question because we have faculty who are in leadership roles. So does one lose their academic freedoms when they go into an administrative role? And that's my concern.
I would say that it is true that a lot of our faculty, a lot of the like deans do come from, if they're the dean of science, they came from a faculty position in science.
Well,
For
in
example.
my case, and you're saying at the school level, right? So if I don't understand this correctly, please explain it to me. But so at the school level, I'm in the School of Plant, Environmental, and Soil Sciences. Our chair is David Pica, who is a professor. So he is an administrator. He's also a professor who's still teaching. So under this definition, does he lose his academic freedoms as being an
Is he the chair
administrator?
of the department? If he's
It doesn't count as a chair,
no,
just deans.
deans, the heads of schools and colleges and above.
But if you're still a faculty member, can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, you can appreciate the
so you still have the protections. That's all. I'm just making
Mhm.
sure that I understand. Okay.
So I guess in that case, would somebody who is a faculty member and is functioning as dean, as long as that person is not making the statement in their role as dean, would it apply to that person? The rule, so there would be, while in that position, there'd be a limitation on their.
a limitation on their ability to just make blanket statements about.
Mhm. And I guess the question goes back to the issue with the faculty senate. What areas would the faculty senate need to be making statements on that were outside our academic mission? And maybe that's an okay muzzle to put on ourselves. Or
I'm not
we could
making
talk
that-
about, you know,
this
regardless of
resolution
whether
does
it would
not
apply
do
to-
that,
yeah.
though. This resolution is not making any sort of muzzling on.
Because I think
on
the,
faculty senate.
I mean, how I interpret this rule, and maybe I'm wrong, is if we were to apply the Shreveport case, is that we might express concern over academic freedom and those processes, but we would have no opinion on waste facilities in Greater Shreveport, right? And nor should we ever have that from my perspective, maybe others, you know, which I would respect, but
Think of it that way, right? If it is, again, would this be good for us to follow? Maybe, yeah, but I'm not making that claim here. What I am saying is that what the resolution is really looking at is for us to start to have conversations, right? Is this part of the academic mission? If it is part of the academic mission, then if you're a dean and you want to defend the academic mission of the university, this is actually encouraging you to do that. It's really encouraging you to do this. If it's making comments about waste management and you're in, mathematics, which may have little to do with waste management systems, then maybe you should not talk about that. But the carve out, the thing is that it's saying two things. This resolution is saying two things. It's saying maximize the freedom for our academic faculty and students and inquiry and all of that, right? Minimize making statements that may lead to allowing that maximization to occur. But if something comes up like tenure at the state legislature, then we absolutely want President Tate down there defending the academic. That's a core academic freedom of the faculty. He absolutely. Right now, again, there's no statement that says that he even needs to defend us. And this is actually saying that it will be his responsibility too. Is that helping? I want to, the paragraph right here really, the paragraph above comes from, I'd say adapted from the Calvin report. That's where that language comes from. And the language here comes from Extraordinary You, which is a model for creating these types of statements. And it's meant to be not just the Calvin report. The Calvin report did lead to some problems.
John Church from Law. As you said, this is from the Calvin report, and the second paragraph, which is not, but in the Calvin report, it carved out, as I recall, it's been a while, carved out a bigger exception. And this says that does not directly concern the academic mission, and their exception was a little more broad than that. It said something about where social or political issues impair the mission or something like that. And I just wonder if we wanted it to be a little bit more broad. I'm in support of this, but I think it's something we ought to think about. The example that a lot of people use, again, as I recall, was South Africa. You know, could you make a statement at some point about apartheid in South Africa? And I don't know that this language would preclude that. I just think it's something we ought to think about a little bit.
I don't want to be, like when you write language like this, and maybe you can speak to this, we don't want to necessarily be too prescriptive. We want to be able to allow for what we, at the end of the day, what we really want is for our leaders to think about the academic mission before making a statement about the academic mission.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that because again, as I recall, one of the things that the Kelvin report made clear was that it wasn't trying to eliminate all statements. It was trying to limit the statements to those that were important enough in a sense, which you can never capture.
You can never capture that. Like if you start, we thought about that type of wording, you start getting into those weeds, it gets really difficult. What we are trying to do is create that conversation. We're trying to solidify a culture in which our leaders think about these things before they just go out and announce statements, where they think, oh, okay, how does this affect the academic mission? Is this related to the academic mission? It is. Oh, then I really should go out and make a statement about it. But if it's not, then maybe this, if it's not to the core values or the core mission of our university, then really maybe it's not helpful as they might think it is. Yeah, I think it's you.
My turn. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm Charles Delsa from the department, and let's see. I wanted to address a few comments that have been made. I'm one of the sponsors on this resolution too. Let's see, the rules of academic freedom, they're at LSU, they're stated in PS 15, but also in the bylaws and regulations of the LSU Board of Supervisors. And I wanted to clarify here, I'll read a part of it. This principle acknowledges the principle of academic freedom, the right of a teacher to explore fully within the field of assignment and to give in the classroom and elsewhere such exposition of the subject as the teacher believes to represent the truth. This principle also includes the right of a member of the academic staff of the university to exercise in speaking, writing, and action outside the university the ordinary rights of a citizen, but it does not decrease the responsibility which the member of the academic staff bears to the university, the state, and the nation. When a member of the academic staff is not officially designated to represent the university, the staff member must indicate clearly that they are speaking as an individual citizen. So I just wanted to clarify, I heard someone say that if you are an expert in some civil war somewhere, then you may make a public statement on the Civil War. Actually, even if you're not an expert, you may still make a statement because any American citizen can make a statement on the Civil War. So I just wanted to clarify that. And the LSU policy agrees with what I'm saying. So you can, as an individual faculty member, you can campaign for a particular member for political office or campaign against somebody. You can do all the things that any American citizen can do, at least if you're an American citizen, maybe you're not, but anyway, so that was one small point. And another point was that this resolution does not address controversies in science or mathematics or things like that. So I think your example wasn't quite relevant. If the president wants to say that string theory is the only correct theory or that pi is 3.2 or whatever, that is not a social or a political controversy. And so he's free to do that, actually. This resolution doesn't address that controversy. He can do that if he wants, as far as this resolution goes. Maybe there's some other rule that prohibits him to do that. But and then I also wanted to remind you of the history. Those of you who are here for the November meeting, I was not here, but I saw it on the video. And Tate did say, just of his own volition, nobody asked him about it. He said, I want to talk about statements. And I don't know why he wanted to talk about statements, but he said that all the time, people at LSU and outside of LSU ask him to issue a statement on some controversy or another. And he says he refuses those requests. And he says that he will defend faculty's right to issue their own statements if they want. So that was one, just to give you a rationale for this resolution. It's not that we're just doing it because he effectively he asked for it. He said, we need to have a conversation about statements. And that's what this resolution is. It's a statement about statements. And next, yes, there was a question about congressional testimony. I don't know all the questions that they were asking those university presidents. They could have asked him about hate speech. That's one thing. But if instead they had asked, well, what is your university's position on some controversy like the Gaza-Israel war? Well, if that university had previously issued a statement, then as an honest testifier, he would have to say, yes, well, this is our position on that war. If, however, the university has not issued any statement, they said, well, we have no institutional position, and that's my testimony. As a representative of this university, I can honestly say that this university has no official position on that Civil War or whatever war it is. So that's what this resolution would do. It would protect the administration from having to testify on things that it doesn't want to testify about. Why should it want to testify? Unless, you know, it could ask, they could ask the individual president as a private citizen, what is your personal opinion about some controversy? And he could say, well, maybe if that's, you know, I don't know, there's rules about testimony and I don't know all those rules, but anyway, that's one thing. And then finally, the Constitution of the faculty clarifies what our roles and our powers are. Also, the Board of Supervisors regulations say that the faculty of the university have authority over educational policy. And it may delegate its power to an elected faculty senate. So the faculty senate has the power to make educational policy at LSU. And the faculty senate constitution adds another line. We amended it in 2005, I believe, to say that the faculty senate may make recommendations to the upper administration on any aspect of university life. Okay, well, that's a pretty broad area. Recommendations, not that we have authority over every aspect of university life, but we can make a recommendation. Now, you could say, well, what about wars in foreign lands or things going on that are hot topics all over the world? Well, that is probably not university life. I don't know. I mean, you can twist everything to make it mean other things, but so the faculty senate does have a leadership role when it comes to educational policy. And that was a good question. Where are we a leader or are we not a leader? Yes, on educational policy, I think we take second place to no one other than the Board of Supervisors. They could nullify some educational policy, even if we vote in favor of it. But apart from the Board of Supervisors, the provost has no authority, the president has no authority, the dean has no authority. Only the faculty have authority when it comes to educational policy. So this resolution doesn't change that. It doesn't address that. I just wanted to remind you of that if you didn't already know. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
I have two comments. The first one is that I circulate a poll with your proposal so that the faculty in my department, I'm Carmela Maxa, I'm from the Department of World Languages and Literature. So when your proposal came, I created a poll and circulated among the faculty. 75% of the faculty in my department agreed with this idea of having a statement on political neutrality. This is my first comment. So there is a strong positive view on having a statement. My second comment is that it will help the discussion a lot if we can have a draft of how you will introduce that statement that we are discussing into the actual policy, because that was the kind of commentary that I had with some of my colleagues, because policy statement 15, in the way it is structured, doesn't have a space for a commentary like this. So it could be a good idea to have a committee maybe, or I don't know, a committee to review policy statement 15 so that we can introduce that. Because I think that once we see this statement in the context of PS 15, then everything will make a lot more sense and everything will become more clear for all of us.
So I will say that that is one of our resolves, is to have this statement be included into policy statement 15. We don't, that means that it would go to the policy committee and that they would come back to us with, this is what it would look like.
So I think I have the floor next. So based on what I'm hearing, I think I'd like to move, we suspend the rules requiring a second reading so we can proceed today. That does require a 2/3 vote, I believe.
Okay, we need a second for that. Is that a second? Okay. Okay, so all those, so what are we voting on to?
You do it.
Yeah, let's. have the.
So the Constitution requires a second reading for a resolution unless we choose to suspend that rule. So it provides for its own suspension. It does require a 2/3 vote of those present and voting in order to remove that requirement. So the question currently is, do we wish to remove the requirement, which would then allow for a vote today? This is not a vote on the main motion to approve the main motion or not. It would simply, if we choose, be able to proceed to that vote. It does not end discussion.
Okay, so all those in favor to suspend the rules, please say aye. Aye. All those against, say nay. Okay, ayes have it. Or do we do abstentions or just, okay. Okay, so the ayes have it, and now, yeah, we continue discussion, and I think yeah.
Just had a question that, how do you define school? Because as an earlier question, I'm Michael Keenan from School of Nutrition and Food Sciences, but we're in the College of Agriculture. So my department chair or school director also does research. So is that misleading? How do you define school? Because is it the same as a college, or I guess that's a little bugaboo there.
Okay. Well, we were looking at, to be honest, we were looking at exactly what Provost Haggerty looks over, and those are schools and colleges. So at that level and above. Is it?
Instead of a Department of Computer Science, a Department of Electrical Engineering, we have the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science within the College of Engineering. And so
Is it, so what we're trying to capture is the faculty. So that is the main component of what we're looking at. The faculty and their immediate chair should be allowed to, basically department level, are not constrained. That's right.
that would be fine for us.
I think there's.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Kevin Xu from Oceanography. How about the center directors? On LSU campus, we have about 15 centers, like Louisiana Sea Grant, Center for Computational Technology, Coastal Studies Institute. Those are the center directors. And many of those directors are also professors. They're faculty.
No, but they're not considered administration.
Okay.
And they would be presumably talking about the expertise of that center, which would be part of the faculty and the, that would be part of the discussions of the faculty. Yeah, the idea here is to protect faculty and the chair and down. So where the faculty is the level of the expert that is working on the research that we all do, is that group of people are being protected. Any other questions? You want to?
But I have a question though, because there are people in dean's offices that are deans that are experts in some areas and actually are actively doing research in that. Actually, some of our deans do active research. I hope that they are not constrained to do their expertise, to talk about their expertise.
And that just goes back to
okay.
That goes back to other policy statements about the academic freedom of people doing research. So that as long as they're fitting into that category, it's like the category of being part of an active research team, talking about their research. That's already covered in these other policy statements and memorandum.
I think the distinction would be if the dean, let's say the dean of HSS said, the Big Bang Theory is false. Okay, now he's not a physicist and that's not in the College of HSS, but you know, let's say he says this is not the way the universe began. As a statement for the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, as opposed to saying it just from his own point of view. So it's speaking for the university as opposed to speaking of his own research. And speaking of his own research, that would be protected, right, as academic freedom. But speaking on behalf of the university, like he can't say the College of Humanities and Social Sciences believes that the universe began XYZ. Okay. Does that make sense?
I cannot make a statement that is outside my realm as an statement for the university, and that's true for a dean as well.
But I think the point in the resolution is that a dean could speak in his role as, you know, Twitter handle at Dean HSS, for example, and make a statement like that that would be taken as policy or ideology for that college or school. I know. Okay. Okay.
I'm not a senator, so I cannot really. I'm just a little bit. I think that PS 15 actually already covers everything, because if a dean should not make any political, in my opinion, okay, any political statement that's are outside their expertise. But that is true for any faculty member. They can only do that as private citizens. So they need to tell, okay, I'm a private citizen, and in this case, and that is when I make this political statement. And that is for a dean or president or whoever.
As Chip said, that's still part of regular academic freedom. The idea here, though, is once again, right now we have people that are thinking like that here at LSU. We have leaders that are already thinking in these ways, right? Again, President Tate saying in November that he takes the Chicago principles as his kind of go-to. So this is kind of a pertinent time for us to actually kind of say, this is the culture that we love here at LSU. This is one of the things that we want to keep. Even, if President Tate's here for another 10 years or 20 years, wonderful, but maybe he leaves after 7, 8 years or something to go on to another school. Whoever comes in will be coming into a place that has already started to really develop a culture that says, when we talk about things outside, when we make statements, those statements are really encouraged to be about the academic mission. And right now, there's no language in policy statement 15 that does that, nor is there any language in policy statement 15 that says that leaders should be responsible. They are responsible for upholding our academic freedoms. So it's really this statement right here is really trying to address both of those ideas in a way that is not too prescriptive. Nobody wants, if for example, someone a leader makes a statement about, and it's against what people think is the academic freedom or academic mission. Now there's a conversation that this will be allowing us to invoke. This statement will say, now we can have this conversation. Is this really part of, suppose President Tate says, I want to make LSU into a Catholic university, for example. Now, we know he wouldn't necessarily, but suppose he makes a declarative statement like that. Now, if he was to do something like that, then we as a faculty could go to him and say, we'd like to discuss this with you as to whether this really is part of the academic mission. If we all came to him and said, really the academic mission is we want to be a religious university. And well, there's other people that would prevent us from, other organizations that prevent that from happening. But the main point is that it focuses us on thinking about what the academic mission is. And if we're in alignment with that, then we want we absolutely want our leaders to defend it.
So I would like to point out that the remark was made that this doesn't apply to science, and it does apply to science. You might all remember that we had a governor that said it was okay to teach creationism. So yes, it does apply to science. And we all have
I wasn't going to bring that up, but and that governor was a president of a major system in Louisiana. So if you want to talk about a chilling effect, that might have occurred to the evolutionary biologists at that university system.
I'd like to make a motion to call the question.
Okay, so we now move to.
We vote on moving the question between debate and to a vote.
Okay, what Dan said.
Yeah, so the question to move the question to move the previous, or the motion to move the previous question would be a motion to end debate and proceed to a vote. This is a motion to end debate, move to a vote. This is not a vote on the main motion, which is approval of the resolution. This would require 2/3 of those present voting to vote in the affirmative.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against, please say nay. Abstentions? Okay, so yeah, now we proceed directly to the vote. So all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye. Aye. All those against, say nay. Okay. Okay, abstentions? Okay. I think the ayes have it, so the resolution passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful questions. Very much appreciated.
I'd like to thank our guests for being so patient, and this is record discussion of the academic year. So our first presentation is entitled Raising Awareness for the iCorps program. So I'd like to invite Andrew Schwarz. Thank you so much for being here to make the presentation.
Oh, good afternoon. I'm going to keep this a lot lighter and a lot quicker than the last conversation, as good as that was. So my name is Andrew Schwarz. I'm a professor in the College of Business. My specialty is in IT. I'm here to raise some awareness of the iCorps program that we have here at LSU, and also hoping you partner with me to get to talk to your faculty about this program as well. So NSF a long time ago realized that us faculty are really good at doing basic research, and we're really not good at taking our research out of the lab and actually commercializing the research. So NSF created a program called iCorps. And the vision for iCorps is to allow professors across the college to take advantage of NSF-funded projects and commercialize them through tech transfer. So that's in short what the iCorps program is all about. So in typical professor fashion here, I just summarized that slide so I can move on. So what is iCorps? iCorps is a 7-week online program that's available to faculty that allows them to take their ideas and really see if there's market potential here. So why should you go about doing that? Well, first of all, philosophically, it allows you to really ask the question to what value is our research. We all know that we all have been very successful in the academic sphere and publications, but what about externally? How does it line up with the external marketplace? Do they see value in what we're doing? You may have an idea and say, well, you know what, I think that a consumer is interested in this particular product or some application of my research. It allows you to test your thesis. So what is my role? As a faculty member, my role is to talk to faculty and tell them what the program is all about. So I can tell you I've been through iCorps 3 times, and in 3 times I've managed to discover that I thought I knew who would buy my products, and all 3 times I was markedly wrong. One of my first commercialization attempts, I thought I would sell to faculty. And then I realized that we're really terrible customers. I realized that if I was trying to sell an educational product, it would take me 5 interviews with myself. It would take me 18 months. And after that, I may get a yes or maybe get a no. And then, oh, by the way, if I taught that class next semester, all that penetration from market penetration was all for naught. So we shifted to a different market. So it allows you to really question whether or not what you think is your customer is. It really gets you an understanding of really how hard it is to commercialize technology and commercialize what we have. It's not as easy as we all think that it is. And this coming from a business professor. It was interesting to take it out of the classroom from what I teach to what I do and see that some of the assumptions that we make are not always true. Now, what's interesting thing about LSU is we're part of the Southwest Hub from NSF. So we're connected to universities across other states. If you go through this program, you're actually going to meet other colleagues that exist at UTA, A&M, Mississippi State, Rice, and other institutions as well. So it really expands your network as well. You get to learn about entrepreneurship. And so for those of us interested in lifelong learning, what better? It's a new subject that we don't necessarily know about. And what we have found is if you go through the program, it enables you to be more competitive for other grants as well. So NIH and NSF are really looking a lot more at commercialization. And when they know that you've been trained in these areas, it's going to make you more competitive as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to start to talk to people who you think are going to be your customers. And you're going to figure out, does this really solve a problem? And oftentimes you find out that you have a solution in need of a problem, that you've really solved something, but you don't know what. It allows you to figure out who are your customers. Are they even willing to pay for it? How are you going to reach those customers? Is this better than what's in the market right now? And how does this look like from a scalability perspective and a commercialization perspective as well? All right, so maybe I've got your eye. Say, well, this sounds interesting. What does this look like? So you, as the entrepreneur, you're known as the entrepreneur lead. You're the one who's got the idea. The program is a 3-person cohort. So you would bring alongside maybe a graduate student or a postdoc. And the job of that postdoc or the graduate student is actually to go and do the interviews on your behalf. So you're going to lead the process and they're going to help you do the interviews. If you go for the program, they're going to assign you a mentor, an industry mentor, and the industry mentor is going to come alongside of you and give you advice along the way. What's really great to say from experience is every time I've gone through, I've actually stayed in connection with that industry mentor and we text and call on a frequent basis. So it's not like a commitment that's a short-term commitment from the mentor. They're there for the long term as well. So how do you go about applying if you're interested? You go to the website here and click on apply. What's cool is this is the Southwest Hub. And on the front there, there's actually an LSU faculty member. So we have publicity for that as well. So at Tech Transfer, Andy Moss and his team, how do they help you out? Well, they can help by the process of application itself. So if you need help, there's an officer to help you with. If you only have you and you need help with a broader team, they can help you put together a team to be competitive as well. They can help you find mentors, and then they can also provide you contacts after the program as well. So a couple quick housekeeping things here about the program. Why should you care? What does it matter if you go through this program and you find out about it? What it opens up is opportunities for you afterwards. So if you go through the local or this cohort program, it allows you to compete nationally. And NSF's got a national iCorps program where instead of doing 30 interviews, you do 100 interviews, but they pay you $50,000 in order to do it. So it allows you to be competitive for that. If you're interested in commercialization, it enables you to pursue PFI or SBIR, STTR grants as well, which can enable your commercialization efforts as well. So those are all good incentives for you to move forward. Now, what am I asking of you here in front of you today? As the faculty lead, my job is to spread this word as far and as deep as I can in the institution. If you think your faculty are interested in hearing about this, let me know. I'll be happy to come out and talk to your faculty in your department about this initiative. If you know individuals who may be interested, I'll be happy to meet with them one-on-one and talk about that. So when I said raising awareness, that really is what I'm here to do. I'm not here to recruit. I'm here to raise awareness and put this out there as a great resource that I think each and every one of us could take advantage of. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Last but certainly not least is LSU Library Services for Faculty, Author Profile Audits, and the LSU Scholarly Repository. We have Trent Dunkin, Institutional Repository Librarian, and Andrea Hebert, Research Impact Librarian. Welcome.
Y'all hear me? Okay. How's it going, y'all? Okay, so like I said, I'm Trent Dunkin. I'm the Institutional Repository Librarian at the libraries, and my colleague, Andrea Hebert, she is the Research Impact Librarian. And we're going to talk to y'all a little bit about two services that the libraries offers LSU faculty author profile audits, which is what Andrea oversees, and the LSU Scholarly Repository, which is my area. So just to give y'all kind of a brief overview of the Scholarly Repository, I'm sure y'all probably familiar with it. It used to be called LSU Digital Commons. It was sometime toward the end of last year, we renamed it the LSU Scholarly Repository to kind of go along with Dr. Tate's Scholarship First Agenda, and just to kind of clarify what the repository, what its scope is, collection policy, et cetera. So we've been having the Scholarly Repository since about 2016. Again, graduate students, it primarily hosts electronic theses and dissertations, called them ETDs. But for faculty, we host open access articles, books, monographs, data sets, technical reports. We also have archival materials, the LSU Gumbos, for example, the university catalogs. We have them going back to about, I think it's about 1950 for the catalog, so that's a good resource. And the yearbooks, I think they go back to about 1900. And again, faculty-based open access journals. We even have one, that might be one graduate student journal in Department of French Studies, tete-a-tete. But yeah, so we're just we want faculty just to be aware of this. So if you have anything that's open access, anything that you want to get visibility for, things like that, send it our way, let us know about it. I would love to have a conversation with y'all. And then I want to talk a little bit about DOIs, digital object identifiers. So being this institutional repository librarian, I can also create DOIs for any type of material. Now, if it's an open access article, I'm not going to be able to do that most of the time because it already has a DOI. But say you have a data set, say a technical report, something like that that you're using in a paper, I can go ahead and put a DOI to it. So that'll, again, it'll be easier to find. It's good for awareness, things like that. I'm sure you all know DOIs, specific links. Again, I can go ahead and assign them. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it, a lot of times with data sets, reports, we'll assign a DOI, and faculty members tend to be they really like it a lot. So Andrea, you wanna go on? Okay.
Hi, you can see my very uninspired slide, but so unlike social media, if you are an academic, you cannot just give up having a scholarly identity, right? After like 2020 and 2021, I dropped all my social media, but right, we can't do that as an academic. You will have a profile online, whether you want to or not. You have some control over some of them, like your ORCID, but others you have no control over, like in particular Web of Science and Scopus. And Google Scholar. However, I will say that all of those create your profile with an algorithm, which some are better, some are worse, some are very bad. But it can be really hard to keep track of where the information is coming from, syncing it across different profiles, which you can do. And then also just really taking stock of what is actually wrong on your profile, or how many profiles you have in a certain system. So last week I did an audit for a professor and he had 4 different profiles in Web of Science. So it looked like if you looked for him, you would not find all of his articles unless you looked at all 4 of his profiles. Nobody really has time, I think, to monitor their profiles on a regular basis. And I understand that. It's like me updating my passwords every time I'm told to. I just don't do it. But what you can do is you can request that I look at your profiles. And if I do, I can sometimes identify misattributions. So let's say an article is being attributed to you, but it's not yours. Let's say you have an article that's missing. I can sometimes find who it's being attributed to and have it requested and request that it be sent back to your own profile. I can disambiguate profiles. So if you have the same name as somebody else, which is very common, they're
I don't know how many Andrea Heberts, but someone is constantly assigning me the cancer researchers articles. I'm a librarian. I can disambiguate those profiles. If you have multiple profiles, I can merge them so someone can actually look at your entire record. And then there are also ways that I can recommend enable auto updates, in particular from Crossref and DataCite. So if you have a DOI that was assigned by DataCite for a data set, I can walk you through the step that you need to go through to create that sync. But you can also give me authority within ORCID to enable auto updates through Crossref. So, right, if you need any of that, you can just reach out to me. And I'm more than happy to help you. There'll be like a little form for you to fill out just so I won't have to ask you 800 questions. That's it. So, wanted to keep this short because I know everyone wants to go home. So, any questions? Yes.
Do we have like an ID with ORCID or like a transfer? Or is it through LSU?
Oh, ORCID?
Yeah.
You probably already have one set up.
I have no idea.
Have you ever applied for a grant like within the last year or two?
Yes.
You probably have one.
Okay.
If you aren't sure if you have an ORCID, send me an email with your name and I can look it up for you.
Because it's not easy to find on the LSU thing.
So it would be under like orchid.org.
Okay, because I about my, Phalaenopsis, which I like them too. So.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, it took me a second. Yes. Okay. Mhm.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Okay, there's a reception following this. Please stick around even for 5 minutes. And this is our last meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Great.